Islam, Shalom, Hola, Aloha, Osio, Bonjour, Assalamu Alaikum. This is your brother Zach Bay, Indigenous American Moor. Do you have questions about claiming your nationality? Are you confused or hesitant on how to get started or where to get started? Resources on what to study, questions and answers, maybe even a question on where to purchase an authentic fez. Help me help you. Book your session below. Use keywords Moorish nationality. Islam, Shalom, Hola, Aloha, Bonjour, Osio, Assalamu Alaikum. This is your brother Zach Bay, Indigenous American Moor, coming to you live in full effect. Like, share, subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I'm dropping new content. Leave a comment and interact with me. Thank you. I really do appreciate your viewership. Let's jump into another one. Today, I want to talk a little bit about some Q&A. I've received some questions from some Moors, some people who are trying to study, and someone actually asked me, and I have some experience on this topic, like, what should you do if you're getting pulled over by policy enforcers, the police, what should you do? How would I handle it? Or what are some ways to handle said situation? All right. Firstly, do not panic. If a policy enforcer is behind you and they throw on those lights, depending on how much you know, always study. You can, all right, and these are my personal opinions, all right? So you could take it or leave it, take what's important, leave what's not important. When one pulls behind you, if those lights go on, that's a signal that it's an emergency. So if it's not an emergency situation, that's a violation that they have committed already. All right, in their oath. Policy enforcers. All right. So if those lights come on, don't panic. Depending on where you are, make sure you're aware of your surroundings. I would recommend stopping somewhere where there's good visibility. Maybe there's other onlookers, there's some type of witnesses, or maybe there's somewhere where there's a camera that can be on you and said officer at the same time. I would also recommend that you have on board a recording device, maybe one of those travel cams if you are traveling your own personal automobile. You can also use your mobile phone, but that will also limit you on if you need to make a call, if you're using your mobile phone as a recording device. All right. So I would recommend having a travel cam and perhaps using your mobile phone as a camera, so you have two recording devices. All right. Say you pull over somewhere safe, or you park. I would also recommend that you park if you are able to. If you're able to find somewhere that you can park safely, just in case things go left. All right. You park or pull over. Completely turn off the automobile. Check to make sure all of your doors are locked, all of your windows are rolled up. Make sure all your recording devices are functional and you're ready to record before you engage with said officer. Imagine that they're at the side of your window now, maybe with a flashlight or something. It's really bright, it's in your eyes, or it's in your face. You can't see too well. They should, by policy, they should announce themselves, name, department that they are representing, all right, said organization, all right, that they are part of. You can also ask for personnel number or badge number. All right. Make sure you get those on film. Name and personnel number. All right. Get those on film. All right. You start to, the officer starts to engage you, maybe ask you some questions, maybe to provide your information. It's always important to know what jurisdiction are you in. All right. These people could potentially have pulled information from a display decal, a display plate on said automobile. So they could potentially have some information about you. Depending on how you travel, how you're operating, it might have your personal information on there. I would personally recommend that it not be attached to your personal information, your personal name, address, things of that nature, all right? Just for privacy's sake and your own personal protection. All right, this policy enforcers, officers, and engaging you, asking for you to provide some information, all right? Before you provide said information, hopefully you already have their name, their badge number, and what department that they're in or representing. You don't necessarily have to provide said information depending on your jurisdiction, all right? This is just my personal opinion. If you have, all right, there's no law that says you have to have a license to travel, all right? So it's good to know whether, if you're traveling, there's certain jurisdiction versus driving. Most of these policy enforcers, these officers will assume, all right, they'll make an assumption that you are driving. You can inform them that you are traveling. Once again, you do not have to answer questions. You do not have to incriminate yourself, said by providing information that could potentially be used against you via your Fourth Amendment. All right. Your Fifth Amendment, you have the right to remain silent. All right. All right. Your Fourth and Fifth Amendment, you have a right to keep your personal effects, said paperwork that they might request for you to provide any type of information that is yours, that they're asking you to provide. All right, so that's what your Fourth Amendment protects. Your Fifth Amendment protects your freedom to not incriminate yourself. All right, so that also ties in to that as well. Protects you from searches and seizures is your Fourth Amendment, and protection from incriminating yourself is your Fifth Amendment. All right, your First Amendment. All right, so you invoke your First Amendment, your Fourth Amendment, and your Fifth Amendment. In your First Amendment is, right to press, freedom of press, so you can record, because once you start recording with a camera, you in all sense of the word are the press. All right, that's anyone, all of us. All right, it's good to know what jurisdiction you're in. Also, once I said before, be aware of your surroundings. All right, it's very important. Be aware of your surroundings. Not all policy enforcers or officers are trained well enough. I stated in one of my previous videos that the police force in the United States is the least trained police force in all the so-called civilized countries. All right, or so-called first world countries, even though we dropped to like a second world status already a few years ago, but that's another topic. Our police force is not trained very well in like customer service, protecting the public. All right, so not all of them have the same degree of training. There's different departments, state police, local police. So it's always important to keep that in mind. When they're speaking with you, hopefully they're being professional. Hopefully they're not agitated or coming off in an aggressive way towards you. And also you try to have a calm voice, use a intelligent tone. All right. And you do not have to be familiar with everything that they're requesting of you. All right, you can express to them that you're unfamiliar with said department or policies, but you are aware of your rights. All right, it's always important to know your rights. They will not inform you of your rights. All right, so that's why I mentioned be aware of what jurisdiction you're in, depending on whether or not you choose to provide any type of information to these people. All right, because anything can and will be used against you. If you have some type of manifesto, if you have some type of affidavit, maybe an affidavit of truth that you keep with you, even if, or along with that, if you have a common law identification, all right, you can look up exactly what that is. By law, there's certain pieces of information that a identification has to have on it, and it does not have to be state or government issued, mind you. All right, so it can be, it doesn't even have to be a school ID. It could be a work ID, you know, as long as it has your picture on it, your name, like age, you know, just some basic information, honestly. So that's important to be aware of what jurisdiction you're in, be aware of your surroundings, be aware of who you're speaking to. All right, I've spoken with and dealt with a few policy enforcers, a few officers who are very professional, very knowledgeable of the law and the scope within they choose to enforce said law. All right, so that being said, there's also some that are very uninformed. All right, and in my opinion, the ones who are uninformed are more dangerous. They're more liable to potentially harm you in the line of their duty. Mind you, I've been illegally detained. I've been illegally kidnapped, so-called arrested. I've been released on my own PR after it, and I've had to fight cases as far as obstruction of justice. All right, they love to throw obstruction of justice, but simply stating your rights and standing up for your rights, all right, is not a obstruction of justice. I've beaten this charge plenty of times, many times. You know, and it's kind of ridiculous how, you know, uninformed officers will try to throw that in there, you know, just to try to get you with something. There's a saying that they'll throw about 4 or 5 things at you just to get one to stick. All right. In my opinion, that's absolutely true. Hopefully you're dealing with a policy enforcer or officer who is knowledgeable of your rights, of their oath to the Constitution, and they're upholding their oath to the Constitution. All right, I want to make sure that's very, very clear. On the side of the road, by yourself is not the venue that you want to stand and argue and have a heated debate, an emotional debate with someone who is potentially frightened, and who has leeway to potentially harm you in the line of their duty, so-called duty, apparently, you know, however they might frame it. So be very, very cautious. You know, don't be afraid. It's normal to be nervous whenever you're dealing with these people. Whenever you're dealing in any of these situations, it's very, very nerve-wracking. Try to stay calm, remain calm is best. You know, the more you do this, the more interactions you have, the more that you stand on your rights, the more times you win, it gives you more confidence. But you often might see videos of people being very, very like braggadocious, very, very boastful when they're talking to police. You don't have to be like that even if you have schooled them once or twice. Just be calm, speak in a intelligent tone. It's important to often hold your ground, because you will be tested even if you are in the right. If they're doing their jobs correctly, they will find that out. But on the side of the road, in the middle of a traffic stop, it's not the venue for you to be having a heated, emotional debate or argument with any human that has a weapon that could potentially harm you, regardless if they're in a line of duty or not. It's still a stranger, someone you do not know, that has that ability. All right, they don't know you, you don't know them. All right, so it's good to have that mindset, just to be cautious. The more you study, you'll begin to realize your place within said jurisdiction, whether or not these people have jurisdiction over you, whether or not you can prove that, whether or not you can defend yourself on that. So it's always important to make sure that you make it home safely at the end of any type of traffic stop. If you do give them information, depending on if you're tied to the system, they might potentially write you a citation, a ticket, or so. They might even try to tow your automobile. In the process of towing, they will do something that's called a inventory search, which they use that to bypass your Fourth Amendment, to protect you from searches and seizures. All right. The same thing they do if you're arrested or if you're detained and you're placed in cuffs. If they begin to search you, that detainment, they try to use that as a pretext to bypass your Fourth Amendment. All right. They say that they needed to make sure that you didn't have anything to potentially hurt them while they were detaining you. But a lot of times they won't voice this to you. They won't say that to you. So it's always good to record. The recording is going to keep everyone honest, and is most likely it will make sure everyone is behaving in a professional manner. All right. So make sure you keep those cameras rolling. You don't have to tell them that you're recording. You could just show them that you're recording. Depending on how you want to play this, I've seen people do this more than one way. Some people hide the camera and try to catch officers doing something against the code, against their policy, in order to win cases, because everyone puts on their best face, and everyone shows up as their best representative when they're on film, for the most part. If you may want to try to catch some of this behavior, it's sometimes good to use a hidden camera and not let them know that you're recording them. But in order to be safe, I would recommend that you're upfront with it. You're completely transparent, to let them know that you are recording on more than one device, and that you know your rights and you aren't going to fold, and that you are not a criminal. All right. It's always good to voice and articulate to them that you are not a criminal, because being in that line of work, they tend to look at everyone as a potential criminal. All right. So just make sure that you can articulate that in a intelligent tone, a calm tone. It's best not to get emotional. Don't raise your voice. If you're speaking with a officer and they seem unknowledgeable, they seem like they could potentially violate your rights, you can end the conversation by invoking your Fifth Amendment and asking for a sergeant, a commanding officer, to be called to the scene, and you can deal with them. They have to call via company policy. All right. They have to call a superior officer to said scene, whether it be a sergeant or a lieutenant or a shift commander, whichever they may be. And those ranks normally seem to be more aware of people who are standing up for their rights, so-called constitutionalists. Mind you, don't allow them to add any of these slanders to you, call you a sovereign citizen, or say that you are necessarily a constitutionalist. Just say that you are, that you just stand up for your rights. You know, you don't have to go under any kind of tag or label or anything that they try to label you as. All right, don't allow them to slander you or to label you like that. If there's any more questions, I believe I may have covered everything. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments down below. But these are also some of the books, I showed them before, that can help you figure out your jurisdiction, your place in it, and how to defend yourself. All right, this is your brother Zach Bay. Peace.